In 1969, Dr. Quinley and his son, Alex, drive towards a town called Clarkston. As Alex double-checks their equipment, he finds a strange old book called Sanguinium Demonium, along with a gun. He asks his father if their current case involves much more danger than usual. Dr. Quinley just warns him to be focused and alert. Their client, Mrs. Burkhardt, is relieved to see them and shows them her son Michael's questionable drawing. The Quinleys are not too happy, as they are joined by unexpected company, that is, a priest, because they are conducting a scientific study. She takes them to the little boy sitting alone in the basement. They set up the equipment and start recording. Dr. Quinley asks Michael about his nightmares and his drawings. The boy shows him a mark on his chest, whilst whispering, "I won't let him." They are all frightened to see the same mark carved on a wall. 10 years later, in 1979, the same house now accommodates a different family, the Daniels. After they return to town, the daughter of the family, Jessica, seems down, and so she takes out her bike on a ride to clear her mind. She enters an antique store and looks around, getting herself some album records. But there is no one at the counter, so she goes about the store until the owner shows up. She bargains with him and eventually agrees on a price. She also takes a box labeled trash for another $5. The owner recognizes her and offers his condolences for her deceased brother Stephen. He mentions Stephen was very special to his community and then gives her the items she picked for free. Jessica returns home and tries to sneak upstairs, but her mom calls her. Her mom is upset about her son, but she makes sure that Jessica is fine and asks if her school science project is going well. She disapproves of the junk box which Jessica brought home and hopes that her husband doesn't want to keep it. Her father mourns by himself, trying to fix Stephen's game, which accidentally breaks when Jessica tries to help. He is concerned about why she collects random stuff instead of sewing and playing with dolls. He does appreciate the box of stuff she got, though. Jessica's friends also bring her potatoes for their science experiment and her favorite album record. They also offer their condolences. It's time for bed, and Jessica is still up on the phone with her friend. Her room is full of interesting and bizarre stuff. Her father is concerned for Jessica because she's only 13 and has atypical interests like soldering robots together. He thinks they have nothing in common as father and daughter, but his wife insists that it is the opposite. He goes into his basement workshop and checks out the stuff Jessica brought. There's a reel-to-reel tape recorder and some drawing. Jessica follows him down there, and he agrees to let her examine the things together with him. As she tries to open up the tape to insert batteries, she accidentally cuts her palm. They dress her wound, and she goes back to sleep. Later on, an ominous aura develops in the basement as blood gushes out of the tape, followed by demonic whispers. Jessica wakes up, but there's nothing there. The next day, Jessica meets her friends, and they discuss their experiment. Wesley, a boy she has a crush on, is unfortunately going to the school dance with another girl. He's also running for class president and wants her to vote for him. Jessica's friends come over to her house in the evening, and she shows them her magnificent idea of a light spark induced from potato currents. It is called the Potato Death Ray. They're very pleased with it. Her friend Sam wanders off to her room and sees a picture of Stephen, which reminds him of his deceased mother. He also accidentally sits on her robot, causing it to malfunction. He attempts to ask Jessica to the dance, but plays it off as a joke. The other friend, Cheddar, skims over the weird drawings, and the tape suddenly turns on. Sam is delighted to see the cool stuff in Jessica's room, and when she shows him her new sewing work, he advises her to only do what she wants to. They take a picture together, followed by friendly jokes and chats. But they are interrupted by a clattering noise from the basement, so they go to check on Cheddar. They are horrified to see her scary and bloody, but she disappears when the real Cheddar appears. Their potato experiment is shattered, and they have to clean it up. As Mr. Daniel returns home, he keeps hearing whispers and noises from the car radio. He notices someone in the mirror. As they keep whispering, she has opened the door, she's marked, and sacrifice at the final doorway, Sanguine Demonia. Then suddenly a woman appears in his car, asking him to reverse it. Jessica tries to make a new potato death ray, as Cheddar complains about an itchy face. She messes it up, but Cheddar assures her that she'll work it out, because she's smart enough to become an astronomical engineer, or as she calls it, a space ranger. Mr. Daniel confides in his wife and his police friend, Charlie, what he saw earlier, but they don't seem to believe him, suggesting he was probably drunk. Jessica shows Cheddar her wound, which has now turned into a symbol of some sort. Cheddar knows that they saw a girl resembling her in the basement, so she teases her about it. Jessica then follows a suspicious-looking classmate, and when she tries to touch her, she suddenly grabs her hand. Cheddar interrupts her and takes her back. Officer Charlie calls Mrs. Daniel to check up on the family, because both their neighbors had reported hearing noises from their house, but she had been home alone. She goes upstairs to check. When Jessica gets home, she can't find her mom. The telephone is on the ground, and her name is written all over the paper on the typewriter. She sees her mom in the kitchen, but she's absurdly cutting meat, and there's blood all over. Jessica freaks out and runs away to Sam's house. The cops get a report of disturbance in the Daniels' house, and they head over. When Mr. Daniel hears and comes home, he is immediately arrested as the prime suspect because his wife and daughter are both missing. Jessica and her friends gather to discuss the events going on. She tells them it was not her mom that she saw. They confirm that Cheddar is still Cheddar, and begin to ponder on what's behind all of this. Cheddar's guesses werewolves, but Sam suggests they go to the library and find some hints related to the mark on Jessica's hand. They can't find anything, but the librarian notices the symbol on the page and recognizes it. She shows them her personal collection of mysterious, eerie, or creepy objects. She also gives them books about demonic possessions to read. They find the symbol in a book written by Dr. Quinley. The librarian also gives them a phone book to find his contact. They don't find Dr. Quinley's address, but find his son Alex's instead. Meanwhile, Mr. Daniel gets ill-treated at the police station despite his constant pleas that he does not know where his family is and is eager to find them. Jessica calls Officer Charlie and informs him that she's going to look for Alex and figure out what's going on, ignoring his orders to go home instead. Mr. Daniel is shocked to see something under the desk drag away a deputy officer, and in an instant, Officer Charlie is splashed with blood. They run off and rush to get Jessica. There are 2 officers on a stakeout outside the Daniel residence, and their walkie-talkies cut off before Charlie can warn them. One of them goes in to use the bathroom. The lights go off, and there's a wire going down the stairs. He follows it while a telephone rings continuously. He enters a room, where he gets pulled into a closet and massacred. The kids find Alex's home. Cheddar wishes it was werewolves instead of demons, so they could be shot, and Jessica mentions she is good with guns, as she went on hunting trips with her dad and brother. Alex opens the door, and they show him the book, asking for help. Alex is a priest now, and initially refuses to help them, but he soon reconsiders. Charlie and Mr. Daniel reach his house, but the officers are not in their positions. Charlie goes in by himself with a rifle. The kids relate the events to Alex. Alex tells them about the time he documented his father's studies. He recalls the case of the little boy Michael, when the priest had shown up and explained that he had been marked and possessed by Sanguinium demonium. He had said that Michael may not be himself, as the sanguine demon can take the shape of the marked one or those close to the marked one. It craves life, something it does not have, and hence uses the marked humans as vessels. The priest had proposed they the boy, as it was the only way out. He had tried to perform an exorcism, but the demon's power was beyond what he had imagined. It murdered the boy's mom, and before it could end, the priest, Dr. Quinley, shot. His blood had then seeped into the tape recorder. Alex then mentions that the church had confiscated all their equipment. As Cheddar begins to ask Alex what would happen if someone had the mark on them now, an eerie atmosphere suddenly takes over, and there is a knock on the door. It's the librarian. Officer Charlie finds his co-worker's name tag in a pool of blood. Mr. Daniel follows him inside, and they both look for Jessica. He finds the new potato experiment which Jessica had made, and is quite proud of it. The librarian explains that Mother Nature's pure light repels the demon, but it cannot be permanently ended because it has become too strong after feeding on human power. They find a clue in Latin, which says the final doorway is the backwards door, but it's a metaphorical door, as in it could be any object, and all it needs to open or close is blood. As they are talking, the candles suddenly blow out. The librarian lights a fire, but she gets strangled and beheaded. The kids start screaming, and they all dash out, but Jessica gets dragged back. Cheddar tries to help her by stabbing the demon with a badge. Alex leaves Sam out, asks him to go to the car, and he goes back in to help the girls. As the 2 friends run out, Cheddar gets pulled back in, and the door shuts. There is a big flash of illuminating light from the house as the kids cry out for Cheddar. Charlie and Mr. Daniel then arrive at Alex's house and find Jessica's bag and walkie-talkie. Alex tries to drive the kids to church to keep them safe, but Jessica insists he pulls over. She blames herself for everything, including what happened to Cheddar. She thinks it will all end if she sacrifices, but Sam convinces her they can overcome it. Mr. Daniel uses Jessica's walkie-talkie to contact Sam's walkie. Jessica conveys their location, and he asks them to stay put as he is on his way. Alex is out of the car when whispering noises sound from the car radio. Sam is alert and tries to get out, but he can't. Jessica's eyes go black, and Alex realizes it's time for the sacrifice. He attempts to shoot Jessica, but is swallowed by the ground. Jessica snaps out of it, and they try to get out of the car. She breaks open the door and goes out, only to be pulled under the car. Her father comes to her rescue and smashes the demon's arms. Officer Charlie breaks the door to get Sam out. They manage to escape in Charlie's car. Jessica insists they go to their house, because that's where she can put an end to it. She knows how to send the demon back through the final doorway. They arrive in the basement, but they can't find the tape. The lights suddenly go out, and the demon attacks Mr. Daniel in the darkness. Charlie holds onto him as Sam activates the potato death ray. It lights up the room, enough to hurt the demon and make it go away. Sam explains that natural light can repel the demon, but this light can only last about 5 minutes, and to get more potatoes, someone needs to go to the shed. Officer Charlie insists he does it. Jessica gives Charlie a small potato light lamp, which he needs support with. Sam offers to go along, despite Jessica's protest. He promises to come back. After all, they have a dance to attend together. They enter the shed. Charlie gets the sack of potatoes, but the lamp goes out and the demon grabs Sam. Charlie manages to save him from the demon's grip, but falls on a rod that goes through him. He asks Sam to run away. As Sam struggles to go out, Jessica suddenly appears and fires at the demon. They go back to the basement, and Mr. Daniel is devastated to hear about Charlie. As they replace the potatoes, The tape recorder suddenly appears. A portal opens in the wall, and Sam reminds Jessica that it needs blood for the doorway to close. Mr. Daniels secretively cuts his palm over the tape, as he assures Jessica she is brave and smart enough to do anything. And with final goodbyes he runs into the portal, offering himself as the sacrifice. Sam comforts Jessica, when suddenly the original recording from the tape goes off. In a moment, Sam is taken as well. The demon appears face to face with Jessica, and before it can do anything, she cuts her hand over the tape too. She's blinded by a light, and all of a sudden, she's back at the antique store. The owner repeats that she could take it for free, but she just runs away. The junk box remains untouched. As Jessica cycles back home, she accidentally crashes into a car. Sam comes to check on her, and she is relieved and happy to see him again. They are soon joined by Cheddar, who says she got Jessica potatoes, and Sam got her album records.